My name is Avon. I just graduated from college and returned to the high school where I had once dashed through the corridors and learned in the classrooms, now as a computer intern. My workstation was set up in the basement, a place without any windows, just a door, isolated from the world but filled with old computers and the quiet hum of busy silence. That day, I was sitting under the dizzying fluorescent lights, typing away at the keyboard when suddenly, a piercing alarm sliced through the tranquility of the campus, wandering intermittently through the hallways and classrooms. I held my breath, listening to the voice from the broadcast, heavy and serious, announcing an emergency lockdown of the campus. My heart trembled as I looked around, accompanied only by shadows. Hiding in a corner, I did something I had only done in dreams, waiting for the lockdown to be lifted. However, the isolation and silence were abruptly interrupted by rough, pounding sounds. Right then, a man whose face was grotesquely sculpted by sweat and mud burst in, seeking refuge behind a pile of discarded furniture. He looked at me nervously, and I could see the bulge of something in his pocket, every other detail lost to blur, except for his eyes shining in the dark. I sensed danger. I didn't want to be the victim of his potential madness. Time seemed to freeze as he desperately searched for an escape, and I for my chance to flee. When he turned his back to check a map, I quietly moved toward the exit. My heartbeat roared in my ears, like a storm looming close. I pushed the heavy door open, lunging toward the stairs that lead to freedom. Standing in the rain, I waved at the police officers, telling them the location of the man with trembling voice. Soon, the police stormed the basement, and the sky seemed to exhale in relief, clearing up as if in celebration of my escape. From then on, every look back was not only a memory of that school but a newfound understanding of survival and the instinctive response to unexpected situations. As for the man, he eventually faced justice, and the scales tipped back towards peace and order. It was just an ordinary day during the economics class at school. Miss Charlotte was explaining the supply and demand curves while I found myself longing for the sunlight outside the window. Suddenly, the classroom door shut with a loud bang, and a scream pierced the afternoon calm, followed by the principal's urgent announcement over the intercom. "The entire school is going into lockdown immediately." My heart sank. The classroom descended into chaos, but Miss Charlotte quickly regained composure, motioning us to silently crouch in the shadowy corner. The lights flickered and ultimately faded as the school's power supply was forcibly cut off. What was that sound in the hallway? At first, it was a faint growl, but it soon turned high-pitched and frenzied. A deranged man was screaming through the halls, a spine-chilling declaration. "I'm going to kill you all." His words, sharp like a weapon, cut through the last strand of our composure in the silence. The atmosphere in the classroom solidified into a visible terror, with several classmates twitching in the corner, their faces wet with tears. I closed my eyes, and my own heartbeat echoed in my ears. Suddenly, the gloomy screams outside turned to horrific crashes, as if the man was venting his inner rage against every door. The sounds seemed endless, wave after wave, with no sign of escape. Then, an icy chill filled the room. Suddenly, a hush fell over the entire campus, the screams and banging silenced by a firm and powerful voice. "The police have arrived. The suspect has been subdued." Yes, the tense air was finally released, and the nightmare was over. We were informed that the man had been apprehended outside the school, armed with an unfired gun, a former employee bent on revenge. I looked up at each face in the classroom. We were all immensely relieved but aware that from this moment on, our lives would be changed forever. This fear, this gratitude for survival, would become our shared memory, compelling us to cherish every moment. That winter, the sky was cloaked in a uniform gray, as if even the sun had fled the small town. I'm Alex, a high school student struggling with the seasonal gloom that such weather brings. On that day, we were sitting in the classroom as usual, having lunch and talking about trivial matters when suddenly, the air froze for a moment, and then a thunderous roar disrupted the calm. shaking the windows in its wake. There was an initial hush, followed by chaotic speculation. Lightning? In this season, sounds like something exploded. Indeed, such sounds were unheard of in our peaceful little town. The school soon informed us over the PA system that it was not a natural phenomenon but an emergency situation. A local resident, in an unstable mental state, had caused a disturbance and the noise of an explosion. He was threatening to end his own life at his front steps and claimed he would take extreme measures if anyone tried to approach. This news sank everyone's heart. We were confined to the multi-purpose room with the curtains drawn, leaving only the lights at the front of the classroom on, as if we were trapped in an inescapable dream. Time seemed to stand still. Everybody sat in silence, with only the occasional whisper in the crowd, but for the most part, it was filled with the heavy silence and the sound of heartbeats. The gravity of the situation began to dawn on everyone. Some of us started to pray, others huddled together for comfort, while I simply sat, overcome with an unprecedented fear and helplessness. Hours passed, and the outside world seemed more distant than ever. In the meantime, teachers tried to reassure us, but their concern was evident on their faces. This way, we endured the long wait with uncertainty and worry. Not until night fell were we informed that the situation was under control, and the man was safely apprehended by the police without causing further harm. We were allowed to go home, but stepping out of the school gates, I felt as if I were waking up from a nightmare. That night, peace returned to our small town, but for me, the events of the day became an indelible memory. It taught me to cherish the people around me because, in this uncertain world, nothing should be taken for granted.